Hello and welcome round to my house. Now I'm heading into the kitchen to join a couple of very talented chefs as we serve up a feast of delicious food for a truly inspirational woman who's had an extraordinary journey through life. So let's get inside and let's get cooking.
Morning. Are you coming in then?
Good morning, and what a show we've got lined up for you today. I'll be joined throughout the morning by presenter, writer and loose swimming star Katie Piper will be here. Looking forward to chatting to her and visiting a true mecca of motorsport as my food adventures takes me to the Isle of Man and the TT. The very talented Kuba Winkowski will be back demonstrating his Polish dumplings. And don't miss this week's Little Masters when there's a trick or two about cabbage I'll be teaching you as well. And to top it all off, we're joined by a chef who lives so close, 5 minutes ago he was still in bed. It's my local pub landlord, Lenny Carr-Roberts. You can still smell the brute that you sploshed on this morning, Chef.
Old Spice, thank you.
Is that what it is? Is that what it is? Well, welcome to the show. Welcome back. It is so local as well. I mean, you're expanded all around me, really, aren't you? Really?
Oh, thanks for that. Yeah,
You've got a restaurant a pub restaurant not too far away.
Yep.
One a little bit further over that way, and then you've just opened a fish and chip shop. We're going to talk about as well.
Yeah, which you are a very good patron of.
Exactly, as my stomach will testify from that one as well, really. But what are you going to be cooking for us?
Today, I'm going to be doing a dish which I had many years ago from the River Cafe, one of Theo Randall's dishes, a Mediterranean fish stew. And this time of year, we put it on the menus at both pubs, just because it sells so well. So I'm going to do a Mediterranean fish stew for you and the guests. It's going to be fantastic.
Sounds pretty good. It's pretty good. Looking forward to that one. So I thought today we'd kick things off with a pub classic, really, since you're here. Yeah. Fish cakes.
Love fish cakes.
So I think we're just doing it. You can do it with smoked haddock. I'm just going to do it with plain haddock. But we're going to start off and cook a simple little fish cake. We've just got some full fat milk over here. A little bit of bay leaf in there because I think bay leaves is the flavour is what you want. And I'm going to use this liquor to make a sauce at the end of it as well. But I've got some beautiful haddock over here. You can tell haddock because it's got the line on it, whereas cod doesn't. But you've got this beautiful black line on it, and we're just going to poach our haddock in our liquid. Now, it's only going to take probably a couple of minutes maximum to poach that, and just to leave that ticking away nicely. And then we're going to break it all up and then put it into our lovely fish cake to go with it. So with that, I thought I'd do some pickled cucumber to go with it. And I'm going to make a nice little double mustard sauce with this. So we're just going to warm this up and get that cooking away nicely. Meanwhile, with the cucumber, what I'm going to do is just take this, cut it into pieces like that, and then using a mandolin. And the thing is with cucumber, you've got quite a lot of moisture inside cucumber, and it's mainly inside the middle, which is where the seeds are. So what I'm going to use is just use a mandolin, really, to thinly slice the cucumber until I get to where the seeds are. Stop and go around the other way. So we're basically just going to take the outside and the meaty part of the cucumber and leave the seeds behind. That's the idea. So we just thinly slice this, which we've got in here, like that. Now, you can use this for gazpacho, you can use it for ketchup. You can actually make an amazing ketchup with this, can't you?
Yeah.
A little bit of vinegar, which we'll talk about in a second. But you can use some xanthan gum, which you can get from the supermarket nowadays. But what I'm going to do with the cucumber is just take this and really thinly slice this up into little julienne, which we've got in here. Now, the reason why I'm doing this is that, as you know, when we first started this, and this was actually in the middle of sort of COVID land, really, I wanted to support the producers that we have all over this country. And I mean all over this country. We have been quite far afield on this trip over the last sort of 2 years we've been doing this. But I've met one chap who's got this amazing, well, Sarah say it was an amazing idea that turned from an idea into an amazing product. And talk about the length and breadth of the UK. This chap's all the way from Orkney.
That's quite a far away.
This is how remote this is, but it's an amazing story. So hopefully we can go across now to Sam Britton from the Orkney Craft Vinegar Company to have a chat with him. There he is. I can see you. Good morning to you.
Hi James, how you doing?
How are you doing? Now, interesting enough, when we first met, we met about 4 years ago. I came up and saw you. You had this idea. You were sort of doing this in a shipping container, your dad's garage, back of the house, that kind of stuff. I can see times have moved on.
Yeah, I was a bit of a hobo brewer. Started off in the garage and then to the shipping containers. And now in a boatyard just by the sea. Fantastic location. And yeah, it's just grown massively. And
now tell me about yourself, really, because you're a trained chef for 17 odd years. You decided to give that up, and then didn't you go to Orkney to be a miller? Was that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I did various different jobs when I moved up here. I just needed to get out of the kitchen and get some perspective again. And ended up becoming a miller at a historic water mill called Barony Mill. And we were just sort of, I learned how to malt the grain, bare malt. And then I just started, I bought a home brew kit and we just started tinkering about with that. And then just had this idea to go into vinegar. It's a bit of an obscure one, but it's not. Craft beer and gin kind of exploded. I just wanted to do something different.
I've been talking about different. So explain the process, because we've got some of your amazing vinegars here, and we'll get onto it in a minute. But just explain the process of how you make vinegar. What's the simple breakdown of how it's made?
So basically, it's a double fermentation. First fermentation is yeast eating sugar. And then the second fermentation, which is done under heat and oxygen. 30 degrees is about the pinnacle for acetobacter to eat the alcohol. And that's what you finish up with.
And from where you are, why Orkney? Why particularly there? What makes where you are so special in terms of vinegar?
Well, I think there's less here, so my field of vision was sort of narrowed. So it was just sort of working through the seasons, going from summer, you've got the meadowsweet, to autumn, you've got rosehip. Cereals all year round because they're dried and malted. And then you've got, in the winter, you have the seaweeds, which they're a remarkable ingredient to use as well. It's absolutely everywhere.
Now, we've got some in front of us over here. I mean, you started off producing this in sort of small scale, didn't you, really? But it's a fascinating story, because all the way you sent some to competitions and to festivals and stuff like that, and people have just fallen in love with it. So where did you start with to where you are now in terms of the flavour? Because I know you probably stood next to some whiskey barrels. That's where you are now. But where did it all start?
So it all started with the bare malt, and that's the rare breed, typical Orkney barley, and it's been growing here for approximately 5,000 years that they've got it dated to. So I had to use that as a starting point, and we mature that in the bourbon casks from Highland Park. It's a local distillery that many of you be aware of, and these are the bourbon casks just on the bottom row here. And then we actually moved on to a Highland Park malt vinegar, which is using peated malt as well. So it's got that kind of smoky element to it, but then it's seasoned and matured in the sherry casks, which are quite hard to come by. So
what I'm going to show you now is we're just going to make a nice little fish cake. I've got the haddock there. We've got some lemon juice, lemon zest, and all I'm going to just use is salt and pepper. Haddock, a little bit of parsley. That's all I'm going to use to make our nice little fish cake. Now, what I failed to ask you back then, because I was so in awe of Orkney anyway, and particularly the place where you live. What's it like living on an island and living on Orkney? Because anybody that geographically wise, I mean, you are pretty far away from anywhere, aren't you, up there? How would you find it?
Yeah, no, I love Orkney. It's like I think it'd be a good retreat for chefs that are a bit jaded in the industry to come up here and chill. But yeah, no, it's a lovely place, and people are so friendly and warm to you. And everybody's got like a project going on in the garage as well. So I kind of fit into that category. There's so many like cool engineering projects and all sorts of things going on, and a lot to do with renewables up here. And then I just really got into the foraging, just taking my Saluki out for a walk and then coming across a massive patch of meadowsweet or rose hips or something like that. It's just amazing.
It is absolutely. I don't know whether you've ever been up there, because I know you like your travelling as well, but I don't know whether
Never
you've
been to Orkney. I've been up to John O'Groats, but never crossed the waters of Orkney.
It is a beautiful part of the world, and it's one when you go visit it, you can't believe it. You can't believe. And interesting enough, when I say to everybody when I come back, you can't believe the daylight. You can't believe the light. It's almost like being born again. It hurts your eyes. Yeah. It's got I know you're into your skiing and that kind of stuff, but it's probably a similar sort of thing. Whereas it's just incredible that the daylight up there is just unbelievable. But the camaraderie between everybody, how you all help each other out, I think that's also a lesson in life, isn't it, really?
Exactly, yeah. And even in the winter, it feels like you get your island back because there's not so much tourism and stuff like that, but it kicks up the most beautiful sunsets and sunrises with just the most magical skies, and you need that every once in a while because it does get a bit sort of dark and oppressive.
Well, best of luck with everything, and long may it continue, because I'm a big fan of it as well. But thank you for being a part of it, and congrats on the new premises.
Cheers, thank you very much, James.
Thank you very much. Look after yourself. Cheers, Sam. So I've got my fish cakes over here. So you can put these back in the fridge to firm up a bit. I'm just going to drop them in the deep fat fryer. Now, these are already warm anyway, because they won't take very long to heat through and to cook. So drop the fryer down. Whenever you're doing fish cakes, don't put these too hot. So put them in about 160, something like that, because you want the filling in the middle to warm all the way through. Otherwise, the outside is just going to be brown. It's not going to be cooked. And then you've got to pop them in the oven. Sometimes they split and all manner of different stuff. But you're a big fan of Orkney up there. I mean, the scallops as well. I mean, we didn't even touch on the produce, apart from the vinegar, but the produce up there is absolutely
it's such a healthy, natural place to be, isn't it? And the produce just stunning.
The larder up there is just spectacular, absolutely spectacular. So we're going to do a nice little sort of mustard sauce. And I know you're into this sort of stuff. This is just classic, simple. We're going to take a little bit of butter. We've got on here a bit of diced butter in the pan, and I'm just going to do a really, really simple little sauce. And we're going to thicken it with a bit of flour, but the liquor, we're going to use some of this liquor from the fish. Now, I've just used normal haddock. You can use smoked haddock for this. I mean, you're from Scotland. Our broiled smokies are unbelievable as well. But if you can get those, they're even more special. But we'll just take our liquor and make a nice little sauce. So I've got the cooking liquor over here. Like I said, if you want to do the smoked fish, you can do it exactly the same way. We're just going to melt the butter and thicken this with a little bit of flour. So the fish cakes, we can just, they're quite happy just left in there, actually. They can go in there. And then I can take not too much flour. I often think with white sauces, people put too much flour in it. They always go equal measures of butter and flour.
I always use slightly less, just because it gives a lighter sauce.
Yeah, I always use half the amount. You can enrich it with a little bit of butter and finish it at the end, but you don't want too much. That's enough. So when you mix it together, the roux, which is this mixture now, you see is much more liquid than you would classically do it, which is a lot thicker. The problem is with that, you don't want it to taste of flour. You want it to taste nice and light. You want it to thicken, which it will do, but gradually you can keep adding this. Now, the minute you add this and use a whisk, it'll now start to thicken up. You can see this mixture now. Now, if you keep using a whisk, it will now start to thicken up. And everybody's worried about the lumps. If you keep persevering like this, the lumps will disappear. Like that. Keep mixing it. Keep it boiling. Keep it on the stove. We keep adding a little bit more at a time. There we go. So you end up with a lovely little sauce. Now, like I said, with smoked haddock, this would create a lovely little sauce with it. What we want to do now is enrich it. We're going to enrich it with a bit of double cream. Just a touch. And then you can put a little bit of white wine in there if you wanted to, but I'm going to use two different types of mustards now. So turn this down a little bit. I'm going to use some Dijon mustard, and I'm going to use some grain mustard. And we mix the two together, and you end up with this delicious, really simple little mustard sauce. Now it starts to get a bit thick, which that is. You can use a little bit more of this liquor to bring it down again.
That looks great, James.
So quick, isn't it, really? Because you don't waste anything. You've got all these lovely flavours in there. A little bit of mustard, bit of that, black pepper, a nice pinch of salt, and then just a squeeze of lemon in at the end. That goes in there. So that's your little mustard sauce done. You can put some herbs in it. I've got my fish cake cooking away nicely, but back onto our vinegar. And we're going to take a nice little bit of cucumber. I haven't salted this or anything. It's just going to draw the moisture out too much. I've just got some chopped chives in there. And then we've got a selection of these different vinegars. I'm using this one. I think this is incredible, this stuff. But you
Dulce seaweed is fantastic, isn't it?
Just take a little bit of smoked dulse vinegar, mix that together, black pepper, a little pinch of salt. Ooh. It's really nice, isn't it?
Lovely.
Really different flavour, I think. Really quite unusual. And we're almost there, ready. We take a little bit of oil, just a touch. Just get a little dressing with it. Sauce is ready. We can switch that off. Mix this all together.
I can smell it from here.
Yeah, and you can sit the cucumber in there. Now this, I mean, I'm doing it with fish cakes. You can do this. You can just serve this with some ham, which is really nice, but you can just do this nice and simple. And I think the freshness of the cucumber with everything else, it kind of works. But a bit of that. We've got a nice little sauce. We can take our lovely little mustard, double mustard sauce around the edge.
Stunning.
These lovely fish cakes are then ready. Just drain them off.
They look fabulous, James.
Look all right, don't they?
They look great, then.
But also you can turn these. I mean, I know you. I mean, you do it as well. The Scotch eggs as well, which is.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. I was thinking an egg in there would be
a poached, soft poached egg or soft boiled egg. Sorry.
Yeah.
6 minutes. If you peel it, wrap it in the fish cake mixture. Also tastes amazing.
Well, I can tell you something. Next time you come to the pub, which will be hopefully in the next few days, this will be on the menu.
It'll be tonight if this is on the menu. I know it will. Exactly. There we go. And we just got a little bit of watercress, obviously, because watercress we both love because it's just down the road. And there we have it.
Beautiful.
Using Orkney vinegar, a nice little haddock fish cake. Done.
Fantastic. Love that.
Bon appetit, Chief.
Mate, this looks amazing.
Yeah. Well, I better have a taste of this because I'll be tasting it again in 2 days' time at your place.
This is going on the menu, on the pub menu.
It's a haddock fish cake. Oh, tasty. With the cucumber, I think. With the cucumber, it works
Fantastic.
really well.
What I really like about this, I think it's better without the smoked haddock.
I think
you tell the fish, the vinegar's brilliant, the dressing's great.
You want to taste the vinegar, you want to taste everything. But...
Cool. It's like you almost know what you're doing. Delicious, mate.
Other pubs are available locally. Now, Lenny will be cooking for us a little bit later, and I'll be chatting to Loose Women's Katie Piper very shortly, but don't go anywhere, because after the break, Lenny and I will be trying to answer some of your culinary questions. I'll see you in a bit.
Delicious.
Welcome back. Now, I'll be giving you a masterclass in cabbage and dishing up French onion soup for Katie Piper very shortly. But first, I'm here in the kitchen with chef and local pub landlord Lenny Carr-Roberts, and the two of us are going to have a go answering some of your cookery questions. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
So hopefully we should be on the line now to Tia in London. Are you there, Tia? I can see you.
Hiya.
How are you?
Hi. I'm good. How are you?
Good. I was actually enjoying that. We were taking a tour around your room. Have you got the right place now? You're happy with where you are?
Yeah, I'm happy where I am, yeah.
You're happy with, we saw a lampshade at one point and on the ceiling at one point, but anyway.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching as well. And you're busy at the moment.
Yeah,
You're studying biochemistry at university.
Yes.
How's it going?
Biochemistry, yeah. Yeah, it's going well. I mean, I'm in my final year now, so only like 1 semester left and then I'm done. So it's gone super fast, so yeah.
And what do you want to do when you get through that year? What's next on the horizon?
Well, weirdly, I do want to go into social media more, even though it isn't really linked to biochemistry. So I want to go into like social media management, really, and then also just kind of growing my like Instagram food blog. So
social media management. This is where it's all changed, hasn't it? Really.
Yeah,
so tell me, you've got this your own food blog. What does that entail?
So so I recently started a food page on Instagram, and like I post like different vegan recipes and like try to veganize recipes. So for example, like mac and cheese, I recently made like a vegan mac and cheese. So you can literally like veganize anything. So yeah, I just kind of like experiment with different recipes, and yeah, and I created the page.
One of the questions you want to ask us is about hummus. Then fire away.
Yeah, hummus. So I used to be like addicted to hummus, and I used to like go through like 1 tub of hummus a day. So obviously that's quite expensive. So obviously like I learned to like make my own hummus, and it's actually like a lot easier than I thought. So I wanted to ask you, what are different hummus recipes, and like what's the best way to make hummus?
Well, for me, really, I mean, garlic, lemon, oil, tahini, that kind of stuff. We've got a selection of things in front of us. Chickpeas, if you want to soak your own chickpeas, to be honest, it does produce a little bit of end product.
I think so.
But it's when you add things to it that's what it's going to change. And I'm going to change mine slightly. So I've got some tin chickpeas over here, which are well drained. And whenever you try and get them, try and get the ones in brine, I want to say. And if you do get the ones in brine, really wash them off really, really well. So make sure they're dry, free of the brine, that kind of stuff. The garlic itself, you can roast this if you want. But the best way to do this is, I think, if you cut open the garlic, there's a little membrane that sits in the middle. It's almost in 2 parts, garlic. You've got the central bit. You see that central bit in the middle? If you take that bit out, you get the garlic flavour, but without the garlic breath.
Oh, okay.
All right? So
That's a good thing, yeah.
Now, you can, with the garlic, you can cook it in a little bit of milk if you wanted to. You can roast it, which is also really good. But that's also nice. And also the tahini. You get 2 main types of tahini. You get the toasted version and the non-toasted. I much prefer the non-toasted for this.
Same here.
Yeah, you prefer the same thing?
Yeah.
So also, when you get tahini, give it a good stir because it separates out. But the non-toasted one, I think, but also go easy with it because it can taste a little bit like cork.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Not that I chew on a cork, but it's that kind of weird sort of taste if you put too much in it. A little bit of lemon in there. I'm just showing you my one, but Lenny has got his own different varieties. But what I love with this is red peppers. Roasted red peppers. Now, you don't have to do your own red peppers. If you are going to do your own, cut them in half, olive oil, really hot oven. Once they're brown, take them out, put them in a Ziploc bag, a freezer bag. Pop them in there where they're still warm, and the steam comes off them. It basically causes the skin to come off as well, to scrape off. But you want to cook them so the skin disappears. But these are bought-in wood-roasted peppers. And it's amazing how many you get for the money.
Yeah, it's a lot, isn't it?
You get quite a lot for the money. And what you want to do is just put red peppers in here. And wood-roasted red peppers. Look out for them in the supermarket. Sometimes they come in tins. Sometimes they come in jars, which are really good. Salt and pepper. And if you are doing your own, soaking your own chickpeas, don't season the water until it's at this stage. Otherwise, everything goes tough. Really tough. So salt and pepper. Plenty of salt. It's amazing how much salt I think you need in this kind of food. But lid on. And just blend them like that, and they're just going to blend. Now, the more peppers you add, the richer it becomes, but they do a variant of this called a romesco sauce, which is not a hummus-based sauce. It's done with almonds. And you take tomatoes and almonds, so you toast off some whole almonds, blend them with peppers as well, and it's a beautiful romesco sauce. It's done with garlic and that kind of stuff. So you just take the peppers and just drop it in. And it produces this amazing taste with it as well. I don't know what you would do with your hummus to make it change.
Well, I usually add a bit of chilli to mine as well. But also a good top tip with your using tin chickpeas is to save that liquor that the chickpeas are in and use it as like an astrophage to make a vegan meringues. And that's how you make
make a meringue with it?
Yeah, with chickpea water. So it's a good thing to always save that.
There's one for your blog, you see. Chickpea water,
that's
making
a cool
a meringue.
idea. I'll try that.
How the hell do you do that? You still put sugar in it?
I learned this because I used to do meringue for January. So you'd save the chickpea water and you whisk it like you would an egg white. Add your sugar to it. It's just like it's a vegan meringue.
Oh, so it whisks up and then
Yeah, you keep the water.
You're doing this next time you're on. You're definitely next time you're on. I've got to see this. It's going to make a complete hash of it on here, but I've got to see you make this. It's amazing.
I'll do it.
Yeah, it's amazing. But there you have your nice little bit of red pepper hummus to go with it as well. So before you go, hopefully that helps. Before you go, tell me about this other thing that you're doing as well, because I'm too old for this, you see, I think. Or I might need it. You can tell me otherwise. What is ASMR videos? What are you doing?
ASMR videos is like, it's just sound. So like, for example, like if you were making like a cooking video, you wouldn't speak, you'd just like, you know, like you just record like the cutting of the onions and like cutting of the food and like moving the chopping board. And it's basically just sound. And people find it satisfying just to listen to like the sound of people cooking rather than like them speaking as well. So you can definitely take a part in it. You can do it. Just,
so what you're saying to you, all I need is just Matt the sound man. Everybody else in this room I can clear out and leave and send away.
Yeah, basically.
Right? That's it?
Basically, yeah.
Well, best of luck with university as well. Best of luck with what you're doing. Thank you for watching.
Thank you. It was nice to talk to you.
Cheerio.
Have a good time. Bye. Bye.
There you go. You learn something new every day, don't you? See? Well, I'm sure you don't learn. You've got 6 kids at home.
I know, but I don't listen to them.
It's a good answer. It's a good answer. If you've got any questions or anything to do with food, then do drop us a line to one of the addresses on the screens right now, and I'll try to answer them on the future shows. Still to come, I'll be giving you a masterclass in cabbage, and Lenny will be taking over the kitchen very shortly. Don't go anywhere, because after the break, I'll be joined in the house by Katie Piper, and I'll be making a French onion soup. I'll see you in a bit. Welcome back. Now, coming up, I'll be making burgers on my food adventure to the Isle of Man for a load of bikers, and I'll be sharing some recipe ideas for cabbage in today's little masterclass. But first, I'm here with a writer, campaigner, model who's starred in everything from Strictly to Songs of Praise to Loose Women. It's the fabulous Katie Piper! Big love for you in the house today. Welcome to the house.
Thank you.
Great to see you. So we're going to do, I thought I'd do you a little soup. One of the classic soups. A lovely French onion soup.
Oh, that sounds good.
All right. So I don't know whether you get time to cook much at home because she seems extremely busy. I've been reading all about you yesterday. Probably the busiest person we've ever had on the show, really.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, exactly. But do you get time to cook much at home? I know you got the family at home.
Yeah, I like cooking.
Right.
I'm more of a homebody. I don't really go out much, so we sort of cook together, me and my husband. And I taught him how to cook, and he's now eclipsed me.
Right.
He's made me the kind of sous chef assistant.
Has he taken over?
Yeah, and
right.
he's quite protective, so I usually just kind of stand on the sideline and load the dishwasher. So, yeah.
You said sort of a home person, but far cry away when you were brought up, because when you were growing up, you used to be a bit of a tomboy, didn't you? And a bit of a...
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I did judo, I did a bit of football. I was the one that used to climb trees, fall out, get back up. And I had an older brother, so maybe that influenced me a lot, I think.
Because you were brought up not a million miles away from here, really.
Yeah, technically I'm home by being
Well,
here.
very much home. It's just a stone's throw away from here, isn't it, really?
Yeah, I'm a Hampshire girl, so yeah.
And was it 2006 I had runner-up in Miss Winchester as well? Really?
Oh my God, don't embarrass me.
Well,
I didn't even win.
I've done some research on you.
Yeah, I mean, that's going back some time. Yeah, I was probably about 19 then. So yeah, like 2 years ago.
Because you trained as a beauty therapist, didn't you? That's what you wanted. That's what you wanted to do. But all the while in the back of your mind was television. What was that was sort of urging you to do that? Because it's a notoriously difficult job to get into. I never wanted it. It was just fell into it, really.
So I always loved people. I always loved connecting with people, and I always liked variety in my life. So beauty was good in that way. You met different people, you heard about their lives, you were able to help them feel good. But I think I had this pattern of getting bored very quickly and probably a bit of a thrill seeker.
Yeah.
And I left Hampshire, and I'd always been in a village, and I moved to London, and I met other people that I moved in with that were going to auditions, and we were a mixture of aspiring actresses, dancers, models.
You were all in a house together then?
Yeah, and that word aspiring was very key because I ended up working on the DIY shopping channel at 3 o'clock in the morning selling cordless kettles and solar panelled lamps. So it wasn't quite, Holly Willoughby's status. But it was fun and it was varied, and I was making enough money to sort of go clubbing and pay the rent on my house, and that was it really.
Because television is a very different medium, isn't it, really? To do it when you're into it, and you've done so much at the moment, really, and so many amazing things. We'll talk about it later as well, but so many amazing things. But is it everything you thought it would be in terms of doing it?
I think it's a very competitive world, and I think some of it can be really fulfilling and enjoyable. It can have real purpose to it if you do something you're passionate about.
But it's a great medium for us. It's a great voice for certain things, Whereas I think with radio, you kind of listen to it, but you kind of don't say forget it, but you're in people's living rooms.
Yeah, it's slightly different, isn't it? Do you know what it's been really good for me is I've done a lot of documentaries about, you know, sort of real life things, stuff that's close to my heart, and it's been good for profile and fundraising for my charity, and that's been a big platform for us, for a very, very small charity, you know.
So tell us about the charity then, because I know that is a huge part of your life, really, and you give it so much.
Yeah.
You know, that must have been quite difficult in recent years because of COVID. I mean, all charities got hit. It must have been a nightmare.
Yeah, we lost a quarter of our income because it was all face-to-face events. I set it up over 11 years ago, and it was all born from personal experience because I was burnt in my 20s and I had a lot of treatment abroad that I wanted to bring to the UK. But there was also this other thing about wanting to change perception and wanting to change the world and how life is for people with a visible difference or a disfigurement. You know, the bar is very low. And for me, I didn't just want people to get better and sort of slot back in. I want them to know they can still get married, they can be the CEO.
And now we've got the onions on here, which I'm frying off, which I've got some thyme in here. We take these to what we call fairground onions. Do you remember the fairgrounds we used to go to?
I love that.
Fairground onions, that one, and then you add the brown sugar to it, and that's what I class as a fairground onion. You keep going, and we end up with what we've got on here, and then this is where I'm going to start to add the liquid side of the soup as well. But more recently, of course, you've been involved in other things as well. Tell us about what you've been involved in, because you're setting up podcasts, we're doing all manner of different things. But one thing that I did point out in terms of reading your stuff that you're at the moment is the prescription side of it. This is because this is a thing that people don't really talk about. This is what's happening. I lost a great friend of mine through this as well. But
yeah, it's really interesting actually. I'm working with a brand and I'm raising awareness around self-care and monitoring yourself correctly when you're either recovering from an illness or an operation. So it's wearable technology. It's a wearable device, and actually I think a lot of us got obsessed with our watches and counting all our steps.
Yeah.
And we all started to get used to tracking.
Like I am counting my steps.
To and from the cooker.
Yeah.
But yeah, what this device does is you can wear it whilst you sleep, or you can have it when you're at home, and it monitors your blood oxygen levels, your pulse rate, amongst other things. And then it's connected to your emergency contacts. So if you go to dangerously low levels, it will contact them saying that you need to seek medical help or a doctor. And it's just a really common thing when people use opioids at home. You know, it is an essential part of pain management, but they can have very dangerous, if not fatal, side effects.
Absolutely. And there's so many things we're going to talk about as well. This is the liquid's gone in there as well with the soup. Tell us about this book, because I was reading this last night. It's kind of a book that you don't read from cover to cover.
That's right, dip in and out.
But this, it's a lot of work that you spent in this book. So tell us about it, because every day, and this is one of the things that's quite current, and what I love about you doing stuff that's really current at the moment. You look at social media, and I'm not very great at it, really. We're discussing TikTok. And
we'll be clicking and transitioning by the end of this.
I've still got no idea what you're talking about. but it's genuinely no idea. But you see it on social media. You see people who are obsessed with the quotes and bits and pieces now. They pick up little lines and they post. Your book is full of that.
Yes.
Full of that. What gave you the inspiration for this?
Okay, so I'm a very visual person, and I believe in always trying to be optimistic, expressing gratitude. I believe that however we choose our mindset to be and whatever we put out there, we reciprocate. And I've always applied that to all of my adult life. And for people,
I get the feeling you've always been like that, though.
Yeah, it's a mixture of trying to be positive and optimistic, but also probably quite stubborn. And it really works together as a recipe.
Yeah.
But for people that don't know what an affirmation is, I have a theory that we all affirm every day, and the most common affirmation are the negative ones. So the negative ones are, I'm fat, I'm stupid, I'm going to mess this up, they won't pick me, I shouldn't be here, and they just roll off the brain all the time, right?
Yeah.
So what you have to do is you have to make a concerted effort to do positive affirmations. So you're right, some of these quotes that you can read on social, you think, well, I've heard that before, or that's really obvious. But until you sort of start talking the talk, you're not going to walk that walk. So you need to affirm positively every day. You need to put that into your life. And it looks different for other people. For some people, it's in their head, it's on their WhatsApp groups. For other people, it's saying it out loud. For some people, it's really spiritual. It's prayer, it's meditation. Whatever it is you want in life, you have to affirm it, But
we're just going to take this little soup now. And then what I've got in here, I've got the inside of sourdough. We're just going to blend this. and just create a little crumb, really, to go on the top. You can toast off the crumb if you want, but the whole idea of this is going to sort of blend up.
What do you think is the best part, the crust or the centre?
Which do you like? Do you like the crust bits?
Well, I do like dipping the crust in balsamic, but the centre's gorgeous, don't you think, the texture?
So we'll put a few bits of crust in if you want a bit of crust. We'll blend it all up. But the idea is this: you can just blend it all up, and it just becomes do a nice little crust over the top while we do it with the cheese. Ready? So just to recap in the soup, I've just caramelised the onions. We put the sugar in there, a little bit of butter, some fresh thyme. These onions, by the way, are called Roscoff onions.
Oh, very nice, OK.
And they are the best onions in the world.
What makes them the best?
You know the classic picture you get with the French onion seller on the bike with the striped T-shirt? Always Roscoff onions.
Oh, right, OK.
And it comes from an area called Roscoff in France.
Right.
And they have an onion festival in France, as they would do. In France, like they have a museum on chicken.
Right, OK.
It's the only museum in the world that I know of is in France, and it's on chicken.
Right.
But they produce these amazing Roscoff onions,
okay.
and they've got this lovely sort of purpley pinkish hue to them, and these are the best onions that you can buy for French onion soup. But when you do French onion soup, you've got to pile the cheese on.
Oh, nice.
Like
do you
this.
have any secret techniques for cutting onions? Because it always makes my eyes run.
People use onion goggles and all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
don't they, really? I think the key to it is a really, really sharp knife.
Right.
Or the best way to do it, Katie, I find, get somebody else to do it.
I like this. Delegate.
Get somebody else to do it as well. So we're just going to take this and pop it underneath here and just grill this for a couple of minutes. So this is your 9th book, is it now?
Yes.
So you're getting all hand at this now. So you're getting the hang of this now.
Well, it was a nice project because I wrote it in lockdown. So it was my way to escape my husband, get him to do the childcare, and I just locked myself upstairs pretending to write and just looked at cats on YouTube. So
Just look at cats on YouTube.
I had to have a break.
So also, congratulations are in order because the Queen's Award, OBE.
You didn't curtsy.
I didn't. Well, do you have to do that now? I don't know. I didn't know to. So, but congratulations on all that.
Thank you.
New Year's honour and all that. That must have been amazing. That phone call.
Yeah. Do you know what?
Do you get it as a phone call? Or?
So you actually get a official letter with the crest, and you do find out some months before, and you have to keep it a secret. I didn't even tell my mum because I was, worried about going against protocol, and it actually doesn't feel real yet because I haven't gone to the palace yet. So I feel like they're going to I feel like it's not happening and they're going to take it away from me. I'm scared.
Do you think you're going to... Would you ever check in and put it straight after? You've got to check in and put that afterwards, haven't you?
No. Right, OK, the day it went official, I did put it on my social media handles.
Ah, right,
but
okay.
No, but not on my email or anything like that.
So what's the social media handle? Is that just your name?
Yeah, so it's...
Sorry.
Yeah,
See, this is where I'm TikTok. We're going to have a discussion about this later on anyway.
Right, the year is 2022, OK?
Thank you very much. OK. Well, we've moved on a bit. All right, OK. But look at this.
Oh, it smells good. I wish we had smell-o-vision.
French onion soup. Check that out. Tastes absolutely amazing. Do you know what? I'm going to leave it on that tray because it's really hot. But a classic French onion soup with a lovely Comté cheese topping. Done? Easy as that. Right, Katie, there you go.
Lovely, thank you.
Dive into that
Wow,
one.
look
Tell
at
me
that.
what you think of that. Well, this is the starter. You've got dessert to come.
Oh, look at that cheese. Oh, my goodness.
No vinegar on it. Not yet. Not yet.
Oh, you weren't joking about the cheese. That's gorgeous.
How amazing is that? So Comté, you get it in various different guises. It's matured. So the really good stuff is that. That's 36 months mature, but think of it like cheddar cheese. It's amazing cheese.
I don't recommend it on a first date. It's quite stringy. I had a lady in the tramp
You better phone your husband, to be honest with you. I didn't even know it was happening, to be honest with you. But hey, if it is, let's switch the lights off. Right, OK, right then. Go get candles. Right, right, there you go. I'll be making a champagne and passion fruit delice, which is perfect for the next bit, for Katie at the end of the show. And I'm on a food adventure to the Isle of Man very shortly. But join me after the break when my local pub landlord, Lenny Carr-Roberts, will be firing up the stoves. I'll see you in a bit. We can go there afterwards if you want. Welcome back. Now, don't miss this week's little masterclass in cabbage, and there's plenty more to come from my guest Katie Piper a little bit later on in the morning. But first, I'm here with a local chef who's taken over the Winchester food scene. It's a good mate, man. It's the fabulous Lenny Carr-Roberts.
Thank you, Darren. Lovely to be here.
Well, just down the road, whether you go that way, or that way, because you're taking it over all over this. Was it 2 pubs, fish and chip shop?
Yeah, I love it, and so do you. So
Yeah,
it's so great to see you again.
It's quite nice. It's quite nice. I've got plenty of choice where to eat as well, really.
Fantastic.
So, and this I recognise this dish. So, what are you going to be cooking?
Yeah, so this is going to be. Everyone knows of bouillabaisse, you know, the south of France, Marseille. This is like a simpler version of it, which you can do at home. It's healthy, it's fresh. We have this on the menu in the spring, just because people love it. It's like a Mediterranean fish stew. So we start off with a hot pan first of all.
Yeah.
A little bit of olive oil, not too much. This will be quite smoking hot, this, but it'll be good. And then that put up to temperature, and we just throw in the vegetables. You don't need to be fancy about the vegetables because they're going to be blended afterwards.
So how did you end up in Hampshire then?
Well, for me...
Because you're classically trained as well, aren't you?
Yeah, classically trained. I mean, I started working in London. I was at the Gavroche at the beginning, and then I managed to go and work with Marco for a while, which was great. I loved all that, and I thought it was great. But Hampshire, for me, as you know, because you've been here now for a long time, it's got great produce.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I fell in love with my first pub, and I thought, yeah, I'll stay there. It's fantastic.
So, I mean, I mentioned bouillabaisse. The point of bouillabaisse, really, when I've had it, is that it's cooked and the fish is taken all out, and the sauce is. But this is a similar, but sort of not stripped back version, but it's an easier version.
This is a lot easier version. I'll tell you, this is a version of something I had as a young chef in London. I was lucky enough to go to the River Cafe.
Yeah.
You know, and Theo Vandal was the head chef there.
Yeah.
And he had this a version of this dish on the menu. And I was blown away by the simplicity of it. I thought, I'll make that. And this is sort of my version of that same dish. It was just great. So in goes all the vegetables, and then in with the fennel seeds. Quite a lot, a whole tablespoon I put in them. So I just think
it is amazing how much they use as well.
Yeah. Pinch of saffron goes in, and we'll give that a little stir. And you're not looking for loads of colour on this. You're just looking to sort of sweat it down and take your time. I mean, I would normally spend, you know, a good sort of 10 minutes on getting the sweetness into these vegetables. Yeah. But we'll speed this along a little bit. Yeah. In that goes, no problem. And then here, which is quite unusual, but works really well, and this is where this sort of Italian influence comes from. Okay. These are porcini mushrooms, so ceps, dried ceps.
The French will be shouting at you.
I know. Hence why I call it Mediterranean. Right. So this is, I'll just soak these in boiling water, and these give the most amazing depth to this dish. And then be careful you don't put too much of the bottoms in here, because you get little bits of soil, etc. But then I'll add some of the liquor from the mushrooms as well. Okay. And this gives a fantastic depth to this dish. And although you feel that you can't sort of taste it, you can sort of at the back end of it. So that comes up to the boil like so. Yeah. We'll add our tomatoes. 2 tins of tomatoes, good quality tomatoes. Buy the best you can get, I think, is the key.
Well, so often with that, you've got to offset it with a bit of sugar or all that kind of stuff. They can be quite bitter.
Yeah, that's right. But these, if you buy the good ones, you don't have to. Yeah. And then in with that, I'm going to add fish stock. I mean, this is our fish stock because we get, as you do in your restaurants, we get so many bones and from all the frames, from all the fish, it's quite easy for us to make fish stock. But a simple fish stock cube in this will do just as well. Yeah. Yeah. So what's next? You cook that for, what, 20 minutes? Yeah, so that goes for 20 minutes. And then once it's done, it's a case of use a stick blender or a blender, make sure it cools down a little bit, and just blend it. Okay. And what you're left with, you'll be left with this sort of broth like this. Okay. And this is the base to it. And you don't want it too thick. That's a little bit thick. So I'm going to add a bit more stock to that. Okay. You want it to have the sort of consistency of like a double cream. And it's important, almost like a bouillabaisse, an authentic bouillabaisse, but you want to keep it sort of like that. That's ready to go. And what we need to do now is to do the fish side of it. Okay. Okay? So we're going to just fry off this fish and some clams. Yeah. You can use any fish you want for this, but for me, I love the sort of meatier fish that are going to hold up in it. What have you got in here then? So I've got monkfish here, beautiful Cornish monkfish. And then I've also got some John Dory. Yeah. See, John Dory is wonderful. You heard about that sort of classic French fish. Saint-Pierre, they call it, don't they? Yeah, Saint-Pierre. Named after the patron saint of fishermen. Because apparently it's the black marks either side of it. The thumb mark, yeah. The thumbprint. But you can use any fish for this. You can use cod, you can use haddock, you know, you could use scallops. I mean, the list is endless. So that needs to just sort of like sweat and fry for a little bit, and then we're going to add the clams. You can do mussels with this as well.
Okay.
Bit of white wine, and then the fish will take, you know, hardly any time to cook. A few minutes in there.
Yeah, minutes.
So this is heating up really nicely over here.
Okay.
And then the other thing I've got here, as you can see, is some saffron potatoes.
Right. Okay.
So these saffron potatoes are just literally, it's just baby waxy potatoes that have been boiled with some salt and a good pinch of saffron.
You say baby waxy potato. I found the best ones really for this kind of stuff is
Ratte potatoes.
Yeah, R-A-T-T-E, isn't it?
That's right, yeah.
Ratte or whatever it is. But they almost look like sort of Jerusalem artichokes, don't they, really, in terms of like knobbly potatoes, knobbly new potatoes, but they're amazing potatoes. French absolutely love them. But
so here, just a bit of colour. I add a bit of butter.
Yeah.
I know you like your butter.
Yeah.
And then literally just give them a little turn, take it off the heat. And I'll push those to one side now. I'll add my
this
clams.
doesn't take very long to cook this, but
not long at all.
Yeah.
Add my clams. That can go back on the heat. Fierce heat now, which I know this does.
Yeah.
Bit of white wine. Wine goes in.
Yeah.
Now, over here, as it's you and it's luxurious, I've got some lobster. And we'll heat the lobster up, because this is already cooked. In the restaurants, we do this. But we'll heat the lobster up in the sauce. And then we're not far away, to be honest, from plating.
Okay.
I got a little thing that was just knocking around.
You've nicked my pan from my house.
It's your pan, yeah. This is very, very nice. This looks great.
Yeah. I'll tell you
I wouldn't have one of these just knocking around.
Well, it wasn't knocking around. The reason for that is that we had John Williams from the Ritz here, and he was cooking this dish, and I saw the pan. I had pan envy. So then I found out what it was. I went online, was shocked. And typical Northerner, waited until the sale was on.
Yeah.
And then went and bought one in the sale.
Right then, I am almost ready to go here.
Okay.
Now, the other thing we should garnish with this in the pub is we also garnish it with these saffron potatoes.
Yeah.
So all we do with this is add the herbs, some butter, and this is the garnish. And just a tiny little bit of... there's a mandolin if you want one in there. No?
That's perfect.
A bit of garlic in there as well.
Okay.
Almost like a persillade, you know, you get like a persillade. And this is the garnish. And like I say, I think this is, for people, for the viewers, this is a real showstopper of a dish that you can do for people to use. So, let's turn that off. Let's get this amazing... Oh,
this brings back memories
great.
of one of the first dishes that I ever cooked in France, which was hake. And I did it with sauce like this, and I did it with steamed potatoes, which were like this.
Yeah, very similar,
So steamed saffron potatoes. That was the first dish I ever cooked, all the while listening to a French chef shouting at me in French. And I couldn't understand him, and every now and then I used to dodge out the way. Yeah, imbecile, quite a lot, yeah. A lot of other things in French that you can't announce on daytime TV, to be honest with you as well.
So this, well, you can smell it. This just smells amazing. Yeah. This has come off really well. So, into that now I'm going to add some of my lovely clams.
Yeah.
John Dory.
John Dory's amazing. Whether you roast, I mean, I tell you what, John Dory on a barbecue is also unbelievable. If you ever get the chance to try John Dory in a restaurant, it's beautiful. Quite an ugly-looking fish when it's whole. It's got a massive mouth when you pull its mouth. It's huge, but
King of the Sea is what it's called.
It is absolutely spectacular. Absolutely spectacular.
Now, add a little bit more of this sauce over the top. Okay. Little squeeze of lemon over the top. Like that. Then we put these amazing saffron potatoes on.
Yeah.
It's nice and glazed. Love this dish.
You're not bad at this, are you?
Well, do you know what? This is one of my... When you enjoy your job so much like we do, this is a pleasure, mate, isn't it?
Well, it's a pleasure having you local as well, which is good.
Well, it's very kind of you. Now that, and we finish it with a little bit of olive oil over the top. The lemon's already on.
So give us the name of this dish then.
So this is our, well, both pubs we serve this, our Mediterranean fish stew.
Lenny, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Right, Sheffy, I'm looking forward to this.
I hope you enjoy it, buddy.
Thank you very much. Look at it.
Is it big enough for you?
You can't not, can you, really? It's lovely. It's beautiful, beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Let's taste a bit of that John Dory, I think, first. It's amazing. Like that said, that you make that sauce and it keeps so well.
Yeah, it does. It's a really good dish to do in advance. Great flavour.
It's really nice. The potatoes, though, are key to this, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, yeah, like we used to have bunny bass back in the day in Marseille. You'd mash the saffron potatoes up in the sauce, wouldn't you? It's just proper posh mash.
This is absolutely delicious. I love the idea of the sauce, that you can just keep this and freeze it. It's fantastic. Lenny, everybody.
Thank you very much. Thank you, guys.
We'll be round later for a pint, exactly. Right, don't miss this week's little masterclass in cabbage, and I'll be cooking for Katie Piper a little bit later on in the show. But after the break, I'll be taking a two-wheel trip around the Isle of Man and the TT for another one of my favourite food adventures. I'll see you in a bit. Welcome back. Now, still to come, we're getting creative with cabbage in this week's little masterclass, and I'll be laying on lunch for my guest, Katie Piper, very shortly. But before that, it's time to take a look at some of your dishes you've been cooking at home. So first up, we've got Andrew Lee, who had a go at this chicken Caesar salad I made on the show a few weeks ago. Now, this went crazy, this recipe as well, with the help of that incredible bacon producer as well. Well done there, Andrew. It looks amazing as well. But roast chicken, a warm Caesar salad is perfect for this time of the year. Next up, we've got Julie Strafford, who, like many of you, also created that amazing Francesco Mazze's recipe for lamb meatballs. I remember those. They were stuffed in the centre with the cheese. It's got to be one of the most popular dishes we've ever had on the show, and that looks a pretty good effort as well. I remember he cooked that on the wood-fired oven. It was beautiful. And finally, top marks goes to Craig Wordsworth, who's been hard at work in the kitchen, serving up this banquet, look at this, of Red Lion chicken and homemade naan bread. Right, it's time to take a look back at one of my favourite ever food adventures. This week, I'm in the Isle of Man as I rev up to host the world-famous TT motorbike race. And I'm keeping the bikers fed with my recipe of burgers. Enjoy this one. Well, welcome to Port Erin. It's a fabulous little harbour, this, but steeped in history, really. This pier itself is named after the guy who actually was the first person to close the roads officially for the TT, so he was a local governor. This is the perfect place to do this dish. I thought I'd do the ultimate biker food, burgers, but a double whammy burger with a nice hot and spicy apple sauce. So the first thing we do, grab a combination of two different apples. I've got eating apples and cooking apples. No need to peel them. These all just basically just get chopped up like that. I'll get these cooking. So a tiny bit of water. Throw your apples in. And what we're after is like a chunky sauce. I love the word chunky. It's what people call me for the first time they see me. Well, usually other stuff beyond that and all, but that's on social media. But look, stick this all in here and just allow this to cook for about 2 or 3 minutes. Now, you could, if you wanted to, put a bit of chilli in here, but I know bikers like a bit of spice in their food. So this comes from Korea. This is gochujang paste, which is like a fermented chili paste. It takes about 3 years to make really good gochujang, and it's done in sort of vats. But this, mixed with the apples, is the perfect accompaniment with a pork burger. So next up, I've got some pork mince here. Now, it's a really good idea when getting pork mince to get good quality pork mince, particularly any burgers, really, because the fat you need to keep it nice and moist. But literally, if you have cheap pork mince and it goes on here, it'll spontaneously combust because of the amount of fat that's going to drip on it. So not too dry, but a little bit of fat in there as well. Get really good quality sausages, open them all out, you've got the perfect combination. So a little bit of breadcrumbs, like that. We'll take an egg yolk, just to bind it together, black pepper, and some salt, and get your hands in. So once you've mixed it all together, that's when we can combine this into patties. Now, there's burgers and there's burgers. That is not a burger. That is a burger. So once you've got that, flatten it all out and we'll just stick your burgers straight on the barbie. They're proper burgers, look at them. Meanwhile, I'm going to go wash my hands. Right, well, this apple sauce is not far off. The burgers are not far off. Just leave that to cool down one side, and we'll take our buns and just char these as well. A little bit of olive oil. See, words are getting round that chefs here, look, with the bakers. So I'm using a bun that's local to the Isle of Man. It's called brioche. It is good though in a burger. Really is. Just slightly toasted. I'm just going to leave those burgers just to cook slightly, finish it off. Meanwhile, we're going to create a little salad with this, nice and simple. We've just got onions sliced up. Bit of that. Bit of chilli, chopped up as well. And celery. Touch of parsley. In our bowl. Some mayonnaise. TT, you love it, don't you? Black pepper, bit of salt, touch of lemon. Mix this together. And then all you got to do is assemble it, I suppose. We've got our buns, some of this amazing apple sauce. I always have this thing with burgers, less is more. It's always in the back of my head. And then I choose to ignore it. But look. Look at these burgers. Just check that out. Bit of that. And then you just got this slaw, this... You just stick on the middle of it. Look. Oh, I love stuff like this. You can give me all the cooking shows, wandering around Tibet and all this sort of stuff, but Isle of Man, TT week, burger, motorbike. Oh, forgot the walnuts. Stick a stick in it. There you have it. Pork burger with a token walnut. Cheers.
Look at them, full throttle burgers. Cue the hairy bikers. Sorry, hungry bikers.
It's what you want when you get off the bike. That's a thumbs up.
Right, I've got two more bikers I've found as well. Go on then.
Oh, hi.
Sorry, Mum.
Get into that burger, go on.
I don't think I've ever had a burger like that ever.
I really can't believe this is real.
It's a brilliant event that I urge you, if you ever can get to go watch it, it is utterly spectacular. It really is. They're brave, brave people. They really are. Still to come, I'll be making a stunning dessert for my guest, Katie Piper. But after the break, we've got a cracking masterclass in cabbage coming your way. I'll see you in a minute. Welcome back. Now I'll be making a passion fruit and champagne delice for Katie Piper in just a tick. But first, it's time for this week's little masterclass, and it's all about cabbage this week. And we've got a vast selection of cabbage over here. I'm going to go through them in order, really, first of all. So we're going to start off with this one, pointed cabbage or hispy cabbage. It's an amazing cabbage to use, particularly because it's so versatile. Now, you can deep fry and roast and kimchi and all manner of different ways of cooking all these, braising them and all that kind of stuff. But particularly with the hispy cabbage, it lends itself really well to being char-grilled or barbecued. Keep the root on as well, don't trim that off. And then when we want to cook it, you can take the whole lot and just barbecue it. So you can take a little bit of olive oil over the top, over there, like that. And then I'm just going to pop it onto this griddle over here. So when you're using a griddle, it's always a good idea to oil the food, not the griddle. And we just pop that straight onto a hot griddle like that. And this will char. When it chars, it produces this amazing flavour to go with the cabbage. It tastes unbelievable, that. So that's going to sit there nicely. Now, the other one that we've got on here, over here is Savoy cabbage. And this lends itself so well to being deep fat fried. So we've got char-grilled and deep fat frying to start with. But when you deep fat frying, what you mustn't do is wash the leaves. So it's a good idea to take the outside leaves off, or the dirty leaves off really, and then take these down individually And then what you want to do is just roll these up like that, and then thinly slice them. So you want thin slices. Now, try not to get it too thick, otherwise you end up with bigger leaves. Now, you can deep fry larger pieces of leaves, which a lot of chefs use this as garnish for a variety of different things, but what you want to do is just thinly slice them. Now, you can get away with the outer leaves if you want, if they're nice and brown, but nice and clean. And when you deep fry these, it'll resemble that crispy fried seaweed that you get from a restaurant. What we're going to do is just nice and thinly slice this. Take our nice little bit of cabbage, lose that to one side. I'll just check this cabbage over here. There you go. Don't be frightened to take this a little bit further, because you've got that nice charring from it as well. Look at that, lovely. There, we've got our lovely cabbage like this. Now, what we want to do with this is just deep fry it. So I've set the fryer about 160, something like that, and we just carefully put the whole thing in. Now, use a basket because you can lift it in and out, but you can see already from the steam coming off this, this is the moisture that we're getting rid of. So keep rolling it around in there, and all of a sudden that moisture, all this, is the water evaporating from the cabbage. Now, you can do it without the basket. Take that out so you can see it better. There you go. So just roll this around in here to crisp up. You want a little bit of colour, which is fine, but not too brown, otherwise it just goes bitter. So we just lift this out now onto our bit of paper. Just drain off that fat from there as well. And what you end up with this lovely crispy cabbage. Now at the same time we can take our cabbage off of here. So that one. We can bring this across and serve up these two first dishes. So this one we're just going to keep nice and simple. The deep fried one. It's lovely and crispy. You can hear it being crispy. A little bit of salt over the top. You get this lovely crispy cabbage, which tastes amazing. But also what tastes amazing with this, if you go to a supermarket, you'll find this. And this is the roe from scallops that's been dried. And this is the stuff that you often see on the crispy fried seaweed, as well as an added seasoning. But it's lovely and fragrant, salty, which goes perfectly well with the cabbage. But that's that one done. The next one over here, we've got our lovely little bits of hispy, which there is. You can just serve this with a nice little bit of butter if you wanted to. A little bit of creme fraiche, which is also wonderful. I'll tell you what's very, very good. That famous yeast extract. If you put that with a bit of butter and melt it over the top, that's also delicious with cabbage. But there you have sort of two dishes already, one hispy and one deep fat fried. Moving on to our others. One of which is classic, which is this one. This is a kimchi, very, very simple to make. You can do the kimchi with a variety of different cabbages. This one, often called the Chinese cabbage, sometimes called Napa cabbage as well. You'll often see kimchi made out of this, Chinese leaf, or Napa as I call it. But it's a fantastic cabbage to use. But also this one, the tight white cabbage that we've got in here. And what I'm going to do is thinly slice this. Now, you can do this as larger leaves, it's entirely up to you, but this is a simple little kimchi recipe that is nice and easy. But what you do need for this is time, because it does take time to mature. But what you have to start off with, first of all with the cabbage, is put it in a bowl, and you have to salt it. And for that, I like to use a little bit of table salt. Now, really, you can't use enough salt really, because you're going to wash this off out anyway afterwards. But what the salt's doing is drawing out that moisture again, like I told you about when you deep frying it. This salt will draw out the moisture, so you roll it all together. It's a good idea when you're making things like coleslaw to do this as well. So often with coleslaw, you'll make it and you won't salt the cabbage. And if you don't do that, what happens is with your coleslaw, after about 3 or 4 hours when it's mixed together and you season it, it starts to go liquid, and it goes liquid because you haven't salted the cabbage and it draws out that moisture. When you season it, it's doing the same thing, but it's mixed together with the mayonnaise. So it's a good idea to get in the habit of salting it, and it softens up the cabbage as well. So we just leave that to one side for about sort of 20, 30 minutes, an hour, something like that. And then what I've done is I've made a mixture over here. Over here we've got sugar, I've got some salt which you add. So sugar, salt, bit of ginger, some garlic, some lime juice, zest, some star anise, which goes brilliant with cabbage, and then some rice wine vinegar. And the idea is you bring this to the boil, separate in a separate pan. You wash this cabbage off as it starts to soften after about sort of, like I said, about an hour. Drain it off, pop it into a jar, and then pour the mixture that you've boiled up into the jar. And this is what you end up with. This is your classic sort of kimchi. Now, you can keep it in the jar, keep it in the fridge. It'll last for months, and I mean months. And it'll get better the longer it's used as well. But also the benefit from this is not only can you eat the cabbage, but you drink the juice as well, because the juice is really, really good for you. But that is fantastic. So that's another little dish that you've got on there as well. So there is 2 more to go, would you believe, with cabbage. We're going to do a classic sort of red cabbage in a second, but what I want to show you is the way I would cook a simple little cabbage. And you can use this flower. I grow this quite a bit in the garden. This is a fantastic cabbage to cook, but any of these cabbages you can do this simple way. If I was doing Sunday lunch, this is the way that I would cook it. It's a simple little butter and water emulsion, but it goes well with any of these. The white cabbages, all those, or the hispy. But I'm going to use this. This is called Calvanero, or black cabbage. Now, so often you can strip this from the stalks, but I actually like the stalks in there as well. And I pick the Calvanero when it's quite small. Often it can go really quite tall Calvanero in the garden. You get it too tall, it gets a bit, the stalks get a bit woody. But what you want to do is just trim this up like that into pieces. And it's really simple, really, really simple to cook. You start off with a hot pan. So you get a nice hot pan with some water in it. And we create a little emulsion. And this emulsion is very, very quick. It all comes together because the cabbage is going to take no more than about a minute to cook. A minute and a half to cook. So we start off with a butter and water emulsion. Now, while that's happening, and coming to the boil, I'll just explain to what we've got over here. This is a classic red cabbage, this braised red cabbage. So we've got in here a nice red cabbage, thinly sliced, no need to salt it, but just thinly sliced, popped in a pan with some brown sugar, some star anise, some sultanas, honey, red currant jelly. It loves sweetness, this, and apple, grated apple, including the skins from the apple as well. But you pop that all into a pan with some red wine and some port, that kind of stuff, or just red wine. Cook it for about 45 minutes, and we end up with your classic braised red cabbage, which everybody loves. This is great eating hot or cold, by the way, as well. You don't have to have that hot. You can have it cold with pot pie. It's amazing. So as you can see this coming to the boil now, and it creates a wonderful little sauce if you just put butter and water together. And then this is where we put the cabbage in. Now, it appears not a lot of liquid. But if we pop that in there, and then using my tongs, if I roll this around, very, very quickly, this will cook. Now remember, there's quite a bit of water in cabbage as well, so that's going to add to the mixture as well. So while that's happening, we can then just simply serve, we'll do it in this one, we can serve our nice little bit of red cabbage. So this wants to cook for a good 45, 50 minutes. Just allow that gently, gently, gently to cook down, gently simmer down. And then finally, we've got our cabbage over here, which is this one. You just bring it all together like that. And you can pop that into a little bowl. You know when it's ready, when you can hear it almost fry. You can just hear it ticking away. Just show you how quick it is. We'll just show you this one just quickly. But this is a simple little white cabbage as well. Very, very easy. You can chop this into bigger sort of chunks, like that. And you can cook this all this together, this Italian cabbage as well. You pop that one in there. Same process applies. Hot pan. When it's starting to fry, you can hear it ready. Butter and water. Once that's ready, we can then take that And we end up with no liquor from the pan. It's all dissolved. It's all evaporated and just end up with the butter in there. So that's another carbonara. Or that's brilliant, by the way, with pan-fried calves liver, chicken livers, something like that with a dollop of creme fraiche. It's absolutely delicious. But just quickly with the pan, you can get away with cooking this sort of style with 2 cabbages at the same time. So season the water. You just pop this straight in with the tight white cabbage as well. That sits in here. Now it looks as if you've got nowhere near enough water in there. If you keep this pan on, and keep it going, keep the pan full whack, the water will start to come out the cabbage, the butter will start to flavour it and emulsify. You've already got the salt and pepper in there as well. Very, very quickly to cook it. It's really weird, you think, oh, that's never going to cook in there. But just watch. So you just mix this all together and you get this amazing flavour from it. But just as the water starts to evaporate, you can see the steam's helping cooking it. It's really weird. You just instantly think it's more and more water. As it starts to fry like that, that's the water evaporated. It's just left with this lovely little bit of butter, seasoned butter at the end of it. We can then take this out. We can pop the whole lot into your bowl. And there you have it. Perfectly, perfectly cooked every single time. With a little bit of water, a little bit of butter. But there you have it. 6 different ways with cabbage. Done. Now, if there's anything you'd like to learn about, a little masterclass, then do get in touch. We'll see if we can help out right here on the show. I love doing those. Time now for a quick break, but join me again in a couple of minutes when we've got another delicious recipe coming your way. I'll see you in a bit. Welcome back. Now I'll be making an incredible delice for my guest Katie Piper very shortly. But first, a chef whose journey has taken him from Poland to Sydney to Raymond Blanc's kitchens and now the Cotswolds. It's the brilliant Cuba Winkowski. Put you on a pedestal now, fella.
Yeah, good to be back.
What are you going to? It's great to have you back as well. You know I'm a big fan of your food. Ever since the days I met you at the Feathered Nest as well. We'll explain to you what you're going to be doing in your career anyway. Tell us about what you're going to be making.
First of all, what I'm doing, pierogi. Pierogi with potatoes and curd cheese inside. So they call it Russian-style pierogi.
Right.
It's not, name is not from Russia, actually. It's from, it used to be a part of Poland and Ukraine, Rusovia, there's a name for it. You know, don't attack me if I'm wrong, but there was historically a region where they were popular. So it's very popular in Ukraine as well as in Poland. So here I've got some smoked lardo, very fatty bacon.
Now, when I first met you, you were doing this yourself. You were.
I'm still making it myself, so it's still my produce.
Yeah.
So it's a Gloucester Old Spot pig, just from down the road from me, and cured, and then hot smoked. So it's fully cooked. You can eat it like it is.
But you said you never cooked professionally in Poland. What was the catalyst in terms of the food? What put you into the kitchen then?
I think main thing was I just like to eat. You know, that was I was always sort of looking for food. I was always a chubby boy and always hungry, always sort of, you know, wanted to eat.
Good enough reason to start cooking, isn't it, really?
And to be honest, like I mentioned once when we met first time, my mum she would kill me again for this. Not that good in cooking.
Right.
My dad was good, but he was working on the ship, so he was always sort of away and quite, you know, probably 7 months in the year he was away. So in that time, Mum was in charge, and that was, you know, it was good, but basic and repetitive. You know, she was very happy to eat the same thing over and over again for a few days, where I used to hate that. So I think the most arguments we had, it was, you know, me opening the fridge.
But you've worked in some amazing places. I mean, Raymond Blanc as well. I mean, to mention plenty of places. I mean, we first met at a place called the Feathered Nest, which, I mean, you took that place and you took the bull by the horns. And I mean, I remember coming back and I remember saying to Pierre Kaufman, it was actually here for dinner. I remember saying to him, I said, there's this kid, this lad The Cotswold. Well, I can tell you that because I'm a lot older. But do you know what I mean? But there's this guy cooking it, and the food was phenomenal. I remember bringing Pierre, and he couldn't believe it as well. It's fantastic. And do you left that? You missed it, or you want it? What's next for you then? Where are you going to go next?
I'm a little bit on the crossroad, to be honest. It's sort of last time when I saw you, we were so close to get the place, and then COVID, and we delisted, and that fell through in the end. And so I'm still looking. I'm still looking. There's sort of looking for the right space.
What, same area, Cotswolds?
Yeah, that's the thing. That's why I think I'm struggling to find it, because it's sort of, I want to be in the Cotswolds. I want to be in the countryside. I want to be able to smoke. I want to manufacture a lot of my products, because there's a wide range already, and it'd be nice to produce it and cook with it.
Because it is an essential part of your cooking, is your cured meats and your smoking and that kind of stuff.
So the dream is to be able to produce it, sell it as a product as well, maybe, but have maybe a chef's table for 10 and cook the menus as much from your own produce as possible, and that's the dream.
That's a dream for everybody, go on.
So that's our filling for the pierogi.
Yeah.
I prepared some earlier as well, so it's not just. That's obviously. I think that's one of the most popular. And all the restaurants will have. They call Russian style if you look for them when you're in Poland.
So while you're rolling that, what have we got in here? What are these ones?
But they obviously come in a different filling. So we got some pork one. So just like confit pork with some sage and some cooking juices. We got some wild mushrooms with sauerkraut. Sort of very Christmas dish, really. We got it especially over the Christmas.
Well, they've been sat here for exactly 5 minutes. I can't resist. I'm going to dive into one of these.
Yeah, so they got as well different toppings. So as I said, like this one you're just eating with pork, it's got some crispy onion on top with butter.
And would you pan fry them and steam them, or are they just boiled? What?
Right. So again, now we're making the fresh ones. So usually, if you do just made them, you would just boil them and eat them while they're hot from just poaching pan. Right. But obviously, you can make them in advance, like the one I'm making now are here. So you could freeze them. They freeze, toss them in oil, freeze them, and they will freeze perfectly. Defrost them, and then the great way would be to pan fry them.
Do you blanch them before you freeze them, or freeze them as they are?
Blanch them. Okay. Just for the dough to not stick, and so sort of thing. So we got our.
You've made that look easy.
And then, like any dumpling, any ravioli, it's sort of matter of wrapping them round. So
I'm going in for another one, if that's all right.
Yeah, please do.
These are delicious. And you sort of pan fried these as well, these ones? Yes,
so they've been pan fried. So you got, I quite like them pan fried, to be honest. You're getting that extra texture and flavour. So these ones are just very simply fold in half, and then you could leave them like that. There is a million, obviously, like the same like in Chinese dumplings, million ways of folding them. Well, let's say I do them this way.
So you don't use any water to bind it?
No, you don't need, because they got water and hot water in the pastry. They're very easy to. It's great, like if you like with pasta when you're making ravioli, it's obviously pasta dries out, split. If you don't, if you're not experienced, it might be quite tricky. So I think if you want to start making some dumplings or some sort of folding, dough pockets as such, this is a great way to start, because the dough is very forgiving. You can, it's very palatable and sticks together, but as well doesn't stick to the board and doesn't make.
Yeah.
And you don't need a pasta machine or anything for it as well, so it's sort of.
So how do you cook these then?
Yeah, so we're gonna have. I just need to get water to boil, and then I'm gonna get. Switch the pan for the frying, and then we're gonna. Those we're just gonna poach. So it's as well quite quick, 2-3 minutes.
Yeah.
We want them to come to the surface, and then maybe 30 seconds from that.
Yeah.
And the one I made earlier, we can. So that's, you know, as I said, that's a great way to do it. But a bit like gyoza dough, you know what I mean? To do it, if they're in the fridge leftover, you can easily reheat them like that, and they'll give.
So these have just
nice...
been poached for what? A minute? A couple of minutes?
It's the same as this one's.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you make a bigger batch and you got some left over, just fry it off next day. You know what I mean? It's sort of simple as that. So, and to be honest, I think they're even nicer like that. So, because obviously you got that sort of nice crispy.
Crispy, yeah. It's like the Chinese dumplings that you get, they're pan fried and steamed at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? It's funny, you know what I mean? Because obviously it's almost the same dough recipe. It's obviously different filling, but it's funny how things travel around the world and find their way from, you know, far Asia to Poland. I would imagine goes from that direction.
Yeah. It's great to see them how you make them, though. That's the thing. You don't often see them, but it's fantastic.
Yeah, but, you know, as you could see, it was straightforward.
So simple, yeah.
So simple, you know, it's few ingredients mixed together, and then you can be, you know, you can put whatever you want inside. So it's good for leftovers because you could, and leftover meats, just wash it up and put inside. So, but that's, you know,
filled with fish or not? Not so much.
Not so much, to be honest. I haven't come across ones. No, fish. To be honest, we got the Baltic Sea in Poland, but there's not much fish, especially nowadays. There's almost no fish left there. So it's kind of, fish is not. Obviously, we got like herring, a lot of herrings and stuff, but you wouldn't put that in the pierogi. I don't think so. Okay, so that's the boiled one. Then we got some fried ones.
Love these.
Which they got, you know. Strain them a little bit. Right, so yeah, so we're gonna do probably a mix of both. So we do a bit of steam, a bit of crispy. So they always come with sour cream.
Yeah.
We seems to be liking sour cream in Poland, so I'm just gonna put a bit of sour cream in the middle.
Yeah.
And then our onions with bacon. Obviously, if you're vegetarian, then just don't put the bacon. Just nicely crisp onions and butter or oil. Then make them nice and crispy. So.
Smells great. And I just think it's great to see how simple and pure it is, though. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, very simple. Just gonna put some herbs just to make it a little bit more exciting to color. But yeah, you know, it's sort of one of the dishes, you know, my grandmother would do. You can't eat too often.
Debating whether to go for a third one, to be honest with you.
Yeah, you know, that's what I found, you know, with... that's
keep going back.
You can't go back, but as well, it's a heavy food, you know, it's a fuel, you know, it's a fuel. I think...
So give us the name of this dish.
So called pierogi, Russian style, or with potato and curd cheese, with some smoked lardo, crispy onions, and sour cream.
Cuba Winkowski, everybody. Right, I'm looking forward to this. I don't really need knives and forks for this, do you? You use your hands?
No, not really. You can
do use your hands,
sort
right? I will use knives and forks. I will. I will. So I had the pork one. This one's the different one with the cheese and the.
Yeah. So it's just cooked potato, curd cheese, onion, lots of black pepper, and then, you know, the smokiness of the bacon and the dressing of the bacon fat, which gives us sort of meatiness and yeah. Nice.
I love the texture you get from frying it as well, isn't it? You get two different types of textures.
Yeah. I personally prefer the fried ones.
I think I do as well.
because as you said, you got bits which are not, touched by the frying pan, so they're still sort of soft and soggy.
I tell you what, though, Cuba, that bacon's pretty special, isn't it?
Well, it is. I make it.
Well, wherever you end up, wherever you're working, whatever restaurant it is, I'm going to be in the queue to get in. But Cuba Winkowski, everybody. Brilliant. Right, still to come. We've got time for one more recipe, so see you after the break when I'm making a stunning yet simple dessert for Katie Piper. I'll see you in a bit. I'm going to have another one of these. Yeah, that's delicious. That bacon is pretty cool, though. Welcome back, sadly to the last part of the show, but I'm back in the kitchen with my brilliant guest for today. It's the one and only Katie Piper. Yay! Wonder to have you here. So you're having a drink of this. This is no alcohol champagne.
That's right.
A little bit of fizz, and I thought we'd use this to create a wonderful little dessert. We're going to do a little délice, a little mousse with it as well, because I know you've got a sweet tooth as well.
Very much so, yeah.
So we've got passion fruit, we've got mango, and we're going to make a nice little délice. Délice is really 3 layers. It's sponge, it's a mousse, and it's a jelly.
Oh, good.
So that's how we do the 3 layers. So we're going to start off with the bottom layer first of all, which is the cake bit, but we're going to cheat. So if Mary Berry's watching this, she'll be screaming at the TV. Being a pastry chef for all these years, and I'm cheating and buying a supermarket sponge flan.
Well, that's okay, do you think?
Well, I think for people have got busy lives, not more so than you, but you don't really, for this amount of cake that you're going to use, it's unnecessary to make your own cake for this bit. So we're going to take a metal ring. Now you can get one of these from cookware stores. You can use a biscuit tin, cut the base out with a tin opener. Just when you get back home and the kids have wrecked your tin opener, your tin opener and your biscuit tin, you can cut the base out with that and you end up with a ring, which is fine. So, but what we need to do with this is we need to make sure this is nice and thin, because that's too thick for our délice. So what we want to do is take a knife and cut it.
Oh, I'd be scared to do. I'd mess this up, you see.
No, you wouldn't, you see. You just like that, all the way around.
That's
all the way
clever.
around.
You make that look easy.
Well, I don't know about that. And then it's nice and thin, you see.
Okay.
So you've got two thin pieces. Now, you can use that for the trifle, give it to Granny for a trifle, that kind of stuff. And what we want to do is then take a tray with some greaseproof, like that, and then pop the sponge, and this is where you need it nice and thin, in the bottom here, like that.
I don't think I ever make dessert. Because,
what do you mean?
Well, if I cook at home, I do the main, and then
what happens to dessert then?
Well, it's just I've used everything in the cupboards, utensil-wise, dishwasher's full, and so dessert ends up being like a chocolate bar or just something.
Viennetta, a chocolate bar?
Choc ice, that's very nice.
Choc ice. Viennetta is what you want, an Arctic roll is what you want as well.
Roll,
that's the one that you want. But this is so easy to make, trust me.
It feels quite fancy to make a dessert, doesn't it?
You can do this in a ring, but you can do this in glass. I'm going to show you how. So this is the easy bit as well. So we're going to make the mousse part of this. So first of all, what we want to do with this is we want to warm up whatever flavour that you want. And I've got in here some passion fruit and mango, and we take about a quarter of it. So there's still 3/4 of the liquid in there. Okay. So a little bit more maybe. And what we're going to do is warm that up. And this will dissolve the gelatine, which I've got in here. And we're going to whip up some double cream. Now, we mentioned earlier about all the things that you're doing. I didn't even get round to this amazing podcast that you're doing, this Extraordinary People podcast that we didn't even speak about as well.
Right.
I mean, you've interviewed so many amazing people on it as well.
Do you know what's so funny, right? My life is a bit like being a hairdresser, where people come up, they come up to me and they tell me the most intimate things that have happened to them. They'll tell me about real adversity that they've faced. And I think there's a real thing in society when you share some kind of vulnerability, it makes other people feel safe with you. And it, it connects you as humans. So
well, that's because you're quite open and you've been open and talk about it on national TV. You've done programmes on it as well.
Yeah, so I think in some ways it's sort of like you feel like you already know each other when you've heard those sort of private things about people. And yeah, these amazing stories have come out from people, and it's gone all around the world, and people have got in touch and said that it's helped them. It's changed something in their mindset, and they've been able to move forward.
But you've managed to combine that and doing everything you've been doing with so much diversification with doing what you're doing, because you're doing that 1 minute, you're doing songs of praise the next minute, you're doing Strictly the next minute. What do you look forward to with 2022? What do you look forward to doing? Because there must be something something on the horizon for you that you just think, well, I wish, because you have done so much, and like I said, so many different things.
Well, I feel like it is varied, like you said, but it all goes back to one thing. It's connection, and I'm such a people person, right from a teenager to now, and I love being with people and connecting, and I love sharing stories. But if you'd asked me this question before the pandemic, I would have got out this really long list of ambition and professional achievements that I haven't yet done, and it would involve going to America and all these places. But I think what I learned about myself in the lockdown is I was getting it wrong with work and family balance. I think my only ambition is to make sure that I get that balance and enjoy the things that are sort of priceless in my life. Really,
that's because you spent those. I mean, also the plus side of it, because of the pandemic, you spent that quality time with your family, which you wouldn't have normally got. You wouldn't have normally got. You'd have been busy.
Yeah,
you know?
I think we had the same experience as a lot of people, where in the heat wave it was quite nice. We turned into functioning alcoholics who sat in the garden. And then when we got to the homeschooling bit, we all sort of wanted to strangle each other. And then there were just sort of those highs and lows, really.
Well, long may it continue as well, because you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
In all sectors as well. So look, we've just got an era of mousse, and I want to show you this, because like you say, you don't really make desserts, so I'm going to show you how to make this one. Yeah,
I'd have to really like someone to make dessert. It feels like this feels like a lot of faff.
It is. You are married, though, are you, really? This is what happens in it when you get married.
We have Mars ice cream. Like, it's just...
I'm obviously liking that much, but anyway, only joking. Look, we then take our mixture. This is so easy to make. Right, look, and you mix this all together. So this is the cream and the liquid that I've got in. So the liquid that we've got in there with the gelatine, we've mixed it together with the cream.
Feels like a giant omelette.
Well, it looks like a giant omelette when you mix it. Very runny omelette, mind. And then what you do is you take this mixture. Now, you can allow this to cool down slightly, but what we want to do is pour this mixture in. Fill it all up to almost it's full to the top, like that. And then pop the whole lot and pop it in the fridge just to set. And it's going to take about an hour to set.
OK, so you need to really plan ahead for if you've got guests then.
Exactly. So I've got one that's been in here.
OK.
Now, in here I've put a little bit of this sparkling fizz, because I thought you'd probably polish the rest of that off. So I won't put it in the one that I've just made. And then we're going to make the topping. So like I said, it's 3 different layers. So the topping side of it comes in the form of this. It's always about the 100% juice, really. And you can see this is how thick this passion fruit juice is. Look, amazing sort of stuff. So we take, what we're making for this one is we're making a jelly.
Right.
So the other one had cream in it and stuff like that. What we're doing is warm this up, and then what we want to do is then take the gelatine, a lot less gelatine for this one. We put the gelatine in here, just dissolve it. But what you want to do is just not get this too hot. You want it to melt, but you don't want to get it too hot, because if it's too hot, it'll melt the top of the topping. And then you can take the seeds from this as well.
Oh, lovely.
Passion fruit seeds. And they go in.
That's the best part, the seeds, do you think?
Yeah, so you can take that now and you can just pop it in a glass and you've got your own jelly, you see?
Nice.
But this one, what we do now is we top it and you get this amazing colour, look.
Yeah.
From it as well. So you take this and the seeds. So it's 3 layers. You've got the sponge bit first, then you've got the jelly, the mousse, and then you've got the jelly on the top. So what I should have done is do this in the fridge, because it's nigh on impossible at this moment in time to take this back to the damn fridge without it splitting everywhere. But we pop that in here as well. Now, we talked earlier about your amazing book.
Yes.
We've got to recap on this as well. So this is it.
Right.
If people are just waking up, tell us about this amazing book, because this is book number 9 that you've done.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Right.
So it's called A Little Bit of Faith, and it's positive affirmations for every single day. So you can sort of dip in and out of it. You can take pictures of it and put it in your group chat. You can send it to people when there's nothing left to say, but you want them to know you're there for them.
So this is different. The idea is that you get this book and every day you open it and it's got a different.
Yeah, like a calendar.
Because when you look at social media as well, people are obsessed with those little quotes, aren't they? A lot of people are obsessed. And I always think, really?
I'm one of those people.
But then when you pick one or two of them, I think, yeah, that's right. That's quite a cool quote.
It just takes one thing to stop you in your tracks, and actually, you know that expression like, oh, I've had a bad day, and actually you sort of think, no, it was a bad email, it was a bad phone call. It's never like a bad 24 hours, is it? And I think these visuals can really help us sort of take stock and reflect.
Well, there is. And look, it's an amazing book. Congratulations on everything you're doing as well, because I'm a big fan. And look, this is your little dessert.
This looks great. This looks like a good alternative to a birthday cake.
This is all right, isn't it? Look,
there you go. Yeah.
And then we can take a hot knife, and what you want to do with this is once you do it, just wash the knife again, like that, and it means that when you slice it through, you haven't got any of the mousse stuck to the top bit. It's a nice, clean slice.
Should you do that with all cake, then?
All cakes. You should get in the habit of washing the knife every time you do it, and then take another knife, and that goes underneath here, and then you can take a slice.
Oh, look at that. That's very clean.
Like that.
Yeah.
And the idea is that is just a nice piece of a passion fruit delice, which you've got in that. Now, you don't have to do it in this. I said you don't have to do it in the sponge. You can do it in glasses as well.
Oh, wow.
And there you have your, well, it's non-alcoholic champagne and a passion fruit and mango delice. Done. There we go.
Lovely, thank
That's
you.
your starter. That's your dessert.
Oh, wow. So shall I use a knife?
You can use whatever you want. Spoon.
I use a fork, is that right?
You can eat it with a fork, it's fine. Fine, tell me what you think.
Oh, wow.
Got a little slice for me off here.
That's chef's kiss.
Happy with that?
That's really nice.
Should be a little bit sharp. That's the passion fruit in there, but
also it's quite nice and light. This will be lovely at a three-course meal. You know, it's not too heavy for the end.
Right, so I've got to cook you again another course to make up for a three-course meal. That's fine. That's right. Stick around. It's absolutely fine. When these lot are gone, I'll carry on cooking for you. There you go. It's fabulous talking to you as well. Best of luck with everything. Congratulations on the book as well. You're doing a great job. Thank you very much. That's it. That's all we've got time for today. A massive thank you to all my guests: Sam Britton, Lenny Carr-Roberts, Kibby Mikowski, and of course the fabulous Katie Piper. Yay! Best of luck with the book. Thank you very much for coming. And you must come again soon as well.
Yes, I'm going to roll out of here.
That's all right. No problem. Stay as long as you want. What's for the next course then? What would you like next?
I love a roast dinner.
Roast dinner?
Yeah,
right, okay.
I love a roast dinner. Pigs in blankets, stuffing. Yeah.